we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mrs. Fryrick.
Here.
Mr. Posnell.
Here.
Mr. Robinson.
Here.
Mr. Sanders.
Here.
Mr. Scalette.
Here.
Mrs. Schrader.
Here.
Mr. Sears.
Here.
Mr. Tillman.
Here.
Mr. Watts.
Here. Reminder to please silence your cell phones during the meeting. And we'll open for public comment. All comments and questions will be addressed to the President. Board and staff members will not normally respond to comments or questions during the meeting unless recognized by the President for this purpose. Comments will be limited at the discretion of the President to 5 minutes or less. Are there any public comments? Guess not. Okay. We have the minutes of the reorganization meeting and planning meeting of December 4th and the regular monthly meeting of November 20th. Is there any comment or discussion? We move to approve them as submitted.
So moved.
Second. Okay. For the treasurer's report, I will fill in. We've got items A through G. Would any board member like any of these items considered separately, or are there any questions on any of the items? If not, the chair moves the approval of the below-mentioned items.
Second.
Ms. Mason, could you do a short roll call?
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
The board met following the Planning Committee meeting on December 4th, 2017 in executive session as permitted by Section 707 of the Sunshine Act for the purpose of discussing matters of personnel and legal items. No official action was taken. At this point, I would like to recommend Joel Sears be appointed as treasurer through May 31st of 2018 at no compensation, by the way.
I'll second that.
Second. Okay?
What, the appointment or the compensation?
Yes.
Yes.
Do we have to vote on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
I guess we could do a short roll call vote on that.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
And you have in the minutes the committee assignments recommendation, academic standards and curriculum. I have Ms. Schrader as chair, Mr. Robinson and Mr. Sears as members, communications, Mr. Robinson as chair, and Mr. Scalette and Mr. Watts on the committee. For facilities, Mrs. Fryrick is chair, with Mr. Sears and Mr. Toman on the committee. Finance is Mr. Sears as chair, with Mr. Sanders and Mr. Toman. Personnel is Mr. Robinson as chair, with Mr. Sanders and Mr. Watts. Planning is the committee of the whole, chaired by Mrs. Schrader. Policy review is Mr. Toman as chair, with Mr. Scalette and Mr. Watts. York Adams Tax Bureau and Tax Collection is Ms. Mason. The York County School of Technology Joint Operating Committee, and it's on a 3-year term that will expire December 31st of 2018, is Ms. Schrader, and Mr. Scalette is the alternate, and Mr. Scalette is the York County School of Technology Operating Authority representative. The York Adams Board representative is Mrs. Fryrick. The Lincoln Intermediate School Board is shared with Dallastown, so currently it is the Dallastown board member. The Lincoln Intermediate Unit Joint Operating Authority is a 5-year term that commenced January 1st, 2016 and will expire on December 31st, 2020, and that's Mrs. Fryrick as the district representative. And the PA School Boards Association Legislative Policy and Liaison is Mr. Robinson. Do they work for everybody?
And I had asked for some consideration as to what time of day each of the chair persons would want to meet. If you're prepared tonight to give us that information, that would be great. If not, the sooner we have that information, the sooner we can make the public notice of the time and date of the meetings. We must publicly advertise all of these meetings, and we want to have the time of the meeting be involved. Ellen?
Yeah, for facilities, the dates look fine, and 4:30, the way we have been doing it.
Okay.
James, you okay with a 5 o'clock start? All right. Finance can stay the same.
And was that 5 p.m.? Personnel.
That, it's not in there, it was in his, it was part of his weekly report.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And again, I don't want to delay.
Yeah,
But
I
I-
apologize.
yeah, that's
I'm-
okay.
I think it was good, but I'll review it in the interim and let you know by the end of the meeting.
And the highlighted note on the agenda for the alternate, did you give me a...
I did not, but I guess since Ms. Leopold Sharp did it, I guess I could be the alternate
Okay.
on that.
Okay,
Don't get sick, Ms. Mason.
okay. Thank you, John. Okay. Okay. Moving then to the acting superintendent's report. Attached to the agenda is the monthly student enrollment report, as stated with all the students involved. Next item is,
Move on.
yes, absolutely.
The enrollment report, as far as, I guess I'd say our own footprint is concerned, I think it's pretty useful. But with 109 kids in charter schools, I'd personally like to see a little bit more detail on that. Namely, where are they and in what grades are they? So that we can see where we stand relative to these folks moving in and out of charter. It's expensive.
Sure. That's all part of our child accounting, so I'm sure that we can pull that report out for the next meeting. Okay. I want to, my next item is to publicly make note that we have received information relative to the expiration of the York Suburban Education Support Personnel Association, which is an affiliate of PSEA, that they are intent in entering into bargaining session for their contract that will expire on June 30th. As has been past practice, the negotiation team is one of the persons is the chair of the Personnel Committee, and Mr. Robinson, that would be you. And Mr. President, I would ask then maybe to...
I would like the chair of the Finance Committee to sit on that, and at the risk of getting too large, Mrs. Frarick has offered to serve, and I'm not sure we should get bigger than 3, but I would be open to 4. I don't want it to get too large. I don't want you to outnumber the people you're negotiating with.
Right.
So are there any objections to Ms. Frarick serving? Okay?
Okay, thank you. Next item is the administrative recommendation that we approve a contract with the Chester County Intermediate Unit to conduct the superintendent search. And we have 2 representatives here again tonight, Mary Curley and Danielle Schoinger. Sorry if I butchered.
And I passed out a brochure, an updated brochure for everybody.
It might be appropriate to have the motion on the floor before we have discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. I had asked for an overview of a timeline and some things, so ladies, if you want to share that information, and then if there are other questions, we certainly can address those. Go ahead. Thank you, Danielle.
Again, I'm Danielle Schoninger, and we're very thrilled to be here with
Could
you
you
tonight.
slide just a little closer?
Oh, Do you want us on the
Yeah,
mic?
we're recording.
Okay, recording. All right. Danielle Schoninger, Mary Curley, both from the CCIU. We're thrilled to be here tonight. We're thrilled at the idea of working with your board to select your next superintendent. as Dr. Redding said, he had asked us to go through the timeline with you briefly. We have packets at your places, and there are 2 documents in there.
Mike, here's an extra packet.
Does everybody have one?
Oh, sure, Mr. Stewart.
Okay. The first thing we wanted you to look at is a draft of the timeline. You can see we revised it from the original brochure that we gave to you. We revised it to have the last meeting of your April board to actually make a recommendation for your new superintendent, and then around May 1st to announce who your new superintendent of schools would be. So that it shortens the timeline, but we believe we can do it with you, and then hopefully if we get that in place by May 1, then by June 30th, your new superintendent would be able to begin. So now again, that's projection, that's our goal, and so that, we hope that will work actually. So, all right, the next, do you want to, I don't know, do you want to?
So the next part in your packet to help facilitate and make the process maybe go just a little bit more quickly, so we can meet that deadline of having a superintendent announced by your April board meeting, is we've included for you the questions that we go over with the board. So we'll be looking to meet with you in January. It usually takes 1 to 2 meetings, and these are all the questions we go through. So if you could do a little bit of homework and review the questions and think about some of the answers that you would like to have, so that when we come, we're really just having a discussion and coming to a consensus. So as you'll see, there are a lot of questions. Mm-hmm. If you break down all the parts of the questions, the A, B, and C's, we're close to about 50 questions that we ask you. And when we're finished, that means that we're all set to go full steam ahead and find your next superintendent and recruit the candidates that we think will be the best fit based on your answers. Okay? And that usually takes 1 to 2 meetings, about anywhere. The first meeting is usually about 2 hours, and then usually the second meeting there's some things that you need to think about, and then you come back, and the second meeting we can usually wrap up in about an hour of your time.
Okay, so we were kind of hoping that maybe we could get some idea of when you would want to have those 2 meetings. We're assuming it would be sometime in January so that we could get the process moving as quickly as possible. I don't know, if you want me to...
Well,
Yeah, we'll come together and
Okay.
talk and give you some dates if that works.
We should
Yep.
vote.
Yeah,
You need to vote first.
Need to
we
vote
need
on
to
it.
vote
Okay,
before we do
okay,
that.
all right.
So.
Are there any other questions?
Okay.
All I would say is when we get into this process, if we could set up as many dates as possible in advance based on the timetable that they give us so that we can all get these on our calendars and know what we're doing, would be extremely helpful for the course of January, February, March,
Got a motion and
Call
a
for the
second,
vote.
correct?
Yeah.
Have an individual.
Watts?
Yes.
Toman?
Yes.
Spears?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Scolette?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Posnow?
Yes.
Sanders?
Yes.
Fryrick?
Yes.
Now, to the point, we will come together and get a list of potential dates sooner rather than later.
John, one thing I might throw out, just to suggest or ask, since Mondays are our normal meetings, if maybe those other Mondays that our planning and regular meetings are not on, it might be, we might look
Okay.
at using those days as our superintendent search meetings so that we just automatically know if it's Monday, this is where we are.
No,
Yeah.
I would concur, that sounds like a reasonable.
The first bugaboo we have, though, is
Oh,
January
big one.
15th is Martin Luther King holiday. So, schools are closed, but that doesn't mean you couldn't meet. So, again, but I don't know if you guys are available. So that is that middle Monday.
Yeah.
So, maybe we can work out that, at least for the first one.
Could you send out what do you call
A doodle?
A doodle.
A doodle.
Thank you. And that way we
Yeah.
can make sure we're all available on those dates.
Yeah. Okay, very good. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you're welcome to stay, or you
Yeah.
or you can,
Yeah.
no
Good
pressure.
Yeah. Thank you. The next item on my report is a recommendation that we had from Dr. Ellis as it related to a student activity account. That item would need a motion to move forward.
So moved.
Second.
Mason, we'll do a short
Will
vote.
be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
Next item is the recommendation for the Autistic Support Program, and we had some information, and Natalie Hassenfuss is here to answer any additional questions when that motion is on the floor for discussion.
So moved.
Second.
Questions?
Maybe an observation more than a question. I'm concerned about taking this on because it sounds like, from what we talked about last time, it's essentially a one-way street. Very difficult to go back in the other direction with respect to the teacher that you would take on. The other is, anytime we do projections, I understand that's the best effort that we can make at the time, but I'm not really convinced that there's enough of an economic reason to do this. So I'd like to hear what the educational benefit is to do it this way rather than just look at it from a strictly financial standpoint.
What I see as the largest benefit is that students would then remain in district. In a fair share kind of setting, if that classroom is full with students from other districts, then our students are sent to the next closest fair share classroom that has an opening. So we could have students who are in our K-1-2 program, district students, it's a district-run program we started this year, and then next year, Indian Rock may be already full with students who just aren't moving on, and the IU doesn't move students out to accommodate district students in that building. So that's the biggest plus, is that they remain within district.
I guess the second is that there was some discussion last time about possible change in the billing methodology from the unit. So we really, at this point, don't know what those costs are going to be. So I guess again, we use the best information available to do the projections. But it could very well be that they respond. I would hope they would respond, because there seems to be a lot of this transfer of entity going on from the unit, and that essentially their programs are being, there's no other way to say it, but they're being undermined by that dynamic. That as we start to pull collectively, we start to pull kids back into the districts. What's the point of having an IU as it relates to special ed unless we give them the really hard cases? And if that's really what we're intending to do, I think we're doing a good job of it, collectively, not just Suburban. But it puts the unit into a position that I don't think they were really designed to be. So I guess I'm going to say I'm not convinced that it's the right thing to do at this point in time.
How many times have suburban students, how many classrooms, when we do the fair share, have been filled with non-suburban students where we've had to put suburban students elsewhere in the history of the program, or whatever metric you know?
I don't know that I could answer in the history of the program, but before we took back the district class of the year last year, we had 2 students in K-2 alone who we didn't have room for in this classroom, so they were placed at Fair Share and Red Lion. But I'd have to go back and actually look at student names and where they were placed to figure that out, and I've not done that.
From what you do know, it's fair to assume that a 3rd grader, a 4th grader next year, York Suburban student could end up elsewhere.
Is-
It is fair to assume that. I believe she only loses one student from the interlock classroom this year, and we've got 3.
So would our measure of success be no students moved? That we would consider this activity a success if we were able to say at the end of the year we didn't have to move any students?
I think that it might be one observation. I'm not sure that that's the total, you know, but I like the idea that we are able to keep the students here at York Suburban. These are the children they grow up with, these are the kids that they play with, they see. I think this gives them helps them at least in the social aspects as best that they can, you know, to fit into the community where they live.
I have just a couple questions. I had asked Dr. Redding for some clarification. The 2 paraprofessionals, are they part-time benefits eligible positions?
They're full-time benefits eligible.
Okay. So the salary amount listed here is for 2. Okay. The other question, what's the max number for the class students?
8 students.
Okay, and if there, say, are only 7 suburban, that 8th seat is just empty.
It is empty unless we start engaging in conversations with another district that maybe has a student they're looking to place, in which case then we would charge tuition for that student to be in that. There are some conversations going on amongst districts in the likes of that.
So there is a chance that we would not have a full class at any given time? Okay. And then a third and probably last question I have, on the 5-year projection where it doubles all positions, is that going to be, are you thinking we're going to need a second 3 to 5 grade class, or are you now building in the intermediate level class for them as they age?
That was just a 3 to 5 projection, because I believe we go up to 12 students.
So then you would
eventually,
want
which would be another,
a need for a
at
second
least,
class.
yeah.
But we wouldn't have to do that. We could stay at 1.
We could stay at 1 and then pick and choose which students are sent out.
Just to clarify with regard to the maximum number of students, am I right in thinking that if we had but 7 in that class, that's an advantage for those 7?
I would say yes, it's more one-on-one time.
Yeah. As opposed to, oh gee, we have an empty seat.
Mr. Sears mentioned that this was one way. Is that because we've hired the teacher and we have control of the teacher, or is there a law or a rule that we couldn't go back? Do you know?
I don't know of a law or rule that we couldn't go back, but we have hired that teacher.
We have the resources.
We have a teacher that we have on our complement.
Yeah.
That's the piece that you can't undo.
Yeah.
If there's, and then depending on the certification of that person, they could be moved to a different position, but
If we do away with that program,
we have to keep
and
that
there's
position.
no other certification, then
You might be able to curtail programming
Okay.
and handle.
We wouldn't, trapped is not the right word, but
Yeah,
we
I mean,
wouldn't,
I wanna look at
yeah.
Mhm.
a lot more than that too before
if
giving
it,
a real opinion about that. I'm just saying is I don't know necessarily that you would be,
Element.
committed to that.
oh, that's such a better word than stuck. I was thinking stuck.
Committed.
Committed, I like that.
That's even nicer than my
yeah.
word.
Yeah.
More acceptable.
But in all probability, said teacher would have other special ed certifications.
Probably.
I
I mean, I
know
would
who this
say
is.
there's a special ed certification is a special ed
Umbrella.
certification.
Yeah.
It's not, she's not limited to autism, nor are any of our teachers limited to not going into autism.
Okay.
That
That's
clarifies then, doesn't it?
more flexibility that way,
Yeah.
certainly.
Right. Thank you.
Other questions? Yes.
So given the developments over the past several years, it's highly unlikely that even if there was a reduction in the number of autistic students, that this teacher would really be sitting around twiddling their thumbs, right? Is that,
That's fair.
I mean,
The numbers have continued.
actually, the numbers are gonna be, you don't need a crystal ball to be pretty certain that the numbers are gonna go up.
It minimally stay the same, if not go up.
Okay. Okay.
And I would like to address the concern about being less than 8 students. Historically, my experience says if there's a student in Central that needs a service and we have a vacancy, I know the special ed directors converse. I wouldn't be so concerned about operating with 6 or 7, knowing that our tuition rate probably would be less than them buying a seat from the IU. That's been my experience. I don't know, Natalie, if that's an accurate statement here.
Yeah, that's, we don't do a lot of that here yet in York, but the conversation started to pick up last year and the cost is less.
I mean, maybe this is not related, but we have a policy, a board policy that prevents tuition students from attending suburban schools. Does that
I
apply?
heard that said and tried to find exactly where that was in writing. I haven't yet to find, because there is a whole policy on non-resident children. I'm not debating,
I remember putting an end to that because we got.
is it in policy?
We decided rather than try to reword that existing policy, we would prevent tuition students altogether. And if we did that, does that apply to special ed kids?
The question I had, I mean, I'm not familiar with that particular policy Suburban may have, but I think one of the issues in there is whether we get subsidy for that student, and my instinct tells me we would get subsidy if we're taking another special ed student from another district, but I don't know.
From?
The state.
So nothing from the school itself?
No, you
Home
would,
district?
you would charge well, I guess, I'm not sure how the subsidy works. What I'm saying is you would charge tuition to the district, the district.
Are you saying we would get an additional subsidy on top of what we get now?
I'm not sure how that would work, but I guess what I'm saying is I think it would be, I think it would be revenue neutral.
Yeah, the state does a calculation for tuition for special ed students and non-special ed students. So if the district agreed to accept a tuition student that was special ed, you would be accepting them to pay the special ed tuition rate. And then the child accounting calculations that Mr. King's referring to would kick in on where those reimbursement pieces come from.
Yeah, and I don't get into that level of the weeds.
Well, and in my mind, and I'm remembering, as you are, Joel, about the policy, but, and I don't know, I couldn't quote you the policy, but in my mind, it's different if said tuition student is coming with tuition dollars from their home district as opposed to individual families who opt to send students for whatever reason.
I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying if we need to change the policy, we'd better look into it.
Well, agreed, but that to me, that's a little bit of a caveat that it's the district who's sending them here because they're required to educate these students with special needs as opposed to
Sure, and then essentially what they can
the
do
families.
is shop it. They can shop districts like ours who might have an in-house program with a
Right.
seat, or they would
Mhm.
shop a fair
Right.
share
Right.
classroom.
Sounds like a question for policy committee, Mr. Tillman.
You're writing all this down here.
So, would it be out of, is there a timeline on this that we have to hit? Are we under a deadline?
March is when I need to let the state and the IU know.
So could I ask if it would be possible that we modify the motion to give us another amount of time, a month or so, to find the questions?
We just withdraw the motion?
Or you could table the motion.
Table the motion?
Can we table the motion to do a little research about what this means?
I'll move that we table the motion.
We need a vote.
Ms. Mason, can you do a short vote, I guess? we're voting on tabling the motion. Do need
We could
to-
do a voice vote.
Just withdraw, the person who made the motion withdraw it, and then then there's no motion on the floor.
Right, that's, I mean,
Yeah,
there's no
okay.
motion, she withdrew
Who
it.
made the motion?
Ellen.
All right, I'll withdraw the table motion,
Thank
and
you.
somebody else has to
Did I
withdraw the
second?
Withdraw their second.
Did I second it?
Yes, she did.
I'll withdraw my second.
And then I would ask that the administration worked with us and legal to find out what the details are on this and what the ramifications really are.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. And then the last item, I have two administrators that are here tonight. Dr. Furman, it looks like you were given top billing.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I wanted to talk about the Night of Excellence that we're going to have at East York on January the 11th, to share that with you. This stems from last year when we were awarded the Distinguished School Grant with the Title I status. We had ordered enough books to create a one school, one book affair for our students. And so we're trying to combine a bunch of our favorite things, the reading specialist and I. And if you're ever just having a down day and you need something to feed your soul, you need to go to an elementary building and walk the halls. And it's just to see the growth already in students from August until now, it just puts a smile on your face. There's no way that it couldn't put a smile on your face. And so I figured we need to find more ways to invite parents into the building so that they can experience that as well. So that was one of the things I wanted to do. Julie Stover, my amazing reading specialist, wanted to get more books in more kids' hands and encourage the reading to take place at home. So we came up with this idea of a Night of Excellence. It ties to the title of the book, which there will be an unveiling on January the 11th. I can't tell you the title now, but I did not misspell night, that's all I'm saying there. With that, we thought we might be able to get more people from the community to join us if we had food. So we're teaming with Whitson's, and they're going to prepare a dinner. And so we had sent the save the date out to our families Friday or Monday. Their children should have brought this home. And then we'll do a head count, so fingers crossed when we come back from the holidays that people want to come for dinner. But even if they don't, still open up the building, allow them to walk the halls, to feed their soul with some student work. And then we'll have a presentation in the all-purpose room, probably, about 45 minutes. The staff coming together to create fun activities from Pin the Tail on the Dragon. Mrs. Lawver is going to ask her orchestra students if they would like to perform, just a variety of different activities, and of course Spike will be on hand. So this is something that we're still planning and that I'm excited about. And
Very good.
it'll be a first of more to come.
Yes, go ahead.
Are school board members allowed to come?
Allowed.
Absolutely.
Allowed.
Okay. That's what I'd ask.
Yeah.
All right, I'll send myself an email so that I send you guys an invite, okay?
There you go. Thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Dr. Furman. Mr. Shirey, who is one of our high school assistant principals. Scott?
Thank you very much. Good evening, board members. We've had a very exciting time leading into the holidays in the high school. I know Ms. Atkinson's going to share quite a bit, so I don't want to steal a lot of her thunder. We did kind of talk today and learn about what she's going to say and what I'm going to say. But we did have a food drive. We had our holiday concert on Sunday. Things are going extremely well. Hopefully, all of our students are home right now preparing for midterms.
Except for Elise.
Except for one.
Except for one. I'm sure she's looking at something on her computer. However, you might have heard from Dr. Adams last month about our upcoming Keystone exams. Well, I'd like to let you know that everything went well. They're all boxed up. They're shipped back. So our Literature Keystone time is over in the high school, and we've moved on. I also want to let you know that we're very proud of all of our students in the high school, but we do like to publicly recognize those students who maybe, let's say, have an award in an extracurricular activity. So I know Ms. Atkinson has given you some names in the past, and we'll give you some more names tonight. I'm going to give you a few that she's not going to share. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our sporting events, and now we had some of our fall All-Star awards come in. I know the document may have been shared with you, but this is an opportunity to publicly say their name, so that way maybe others could hear. So, when we look at our fall athletic all-stars, these are students recognized by their coaches and then voted on by other coaches within the county. So it is an esteemed award. In boys cross country, we have Bryce Ohl as runner of the year and was PIAA all-star athlete. Jarrett Rodensky was first team and PIAA all-star as well. Josh Kerr was first team, and our very own Ron Herman was voted coach of the year. As far as girls cross country, Courtney Ohl, Emma Trout, and Zette Flume were all voted first team, and again our coach Dan Van Howe, he's our PE teacher in the high school, was also voted coach of the year. In football, Jake Taylor was voted first team. He has been, in the past couple days, has been meeting with a lot of college recruiters, so we're hoping that he has a good future ahead of him. In boys soccer, while we didn't have any first team winners, we were awarded the Sportsmanship Award. In girls volleyball, Shai Buckingham, Lauren Geyer, Allie Reinecker, and Erin McBride were first team. Shai Buckingham was also voted first team for the PDCA District 3 All-Star team. In girls soccer, both Delaney Gross and Roma Williams were voted first team. And as far as winter sports, I think there's going to be something shared. However, our girls basketball team did win. They had the new Oxford tip-off tournament, and they did win that 2 weekends ago. As far as programs, we did want to highlight this summer, Dr. Ellis, Dr. Adams, and I revisited how we evaluate teachers. Part of evaluation is what we call walkthroughs. All administrators in every school uses them. It's an opportunity to get into the classroom, see what the teacher's doing, see what the students are learning, look for ways to improve or give words of encouragement if we see something good. We took teacher feedback last year. We focused on student engagement this year. We look at about 20 different things within the classroom. We also look at how teachers using technology and the level of rigor of the lesson and the activities that they're asking of our students. We are on about the 84th day of school, and in that time frame, we have been in the classroom 291 times so far, and that is an official capacity where we're giving direct feedback back to the teacher, and looking, again, for ways to improve, and we have seen a lot of growth. We are excited, and that's why the number's so high. We hope to keep that stamina up for the rest of the year. But the reason we're excited is because of the way we changed it up a little bit. It allows us more opportunities to interact with the students now. So, if you have any questions, answer any.
Thank you, Mr. Shirey. Dr. Ketterman, I am amiss in not giving you an opportunity to speak if you have something to add too. I know, I did, I really threw you a curve, didn't I? Yeah.
Oh, my. So what I've been up to, huh?
Yeah. Maybe even just today.
Oh, well, okay, we can talk about that, sure. And I had some great help here. Our holiday meal program, we partnered with York County Food Bank, and all of the buildings had food drives during the month of November, beginning of December. And then everything was taken to, we had to have two different runs, the east side run, the west side run, taken down to the food bank. Then there was a cadre of people who went down Saturday morning, resorted everything into boxes. The food bank receives donations of turkeys, so they're added to the boxes. So then the food bank brought everything back up to the high school, and so we had from 3:15 till just before we came in here, we had our Give a Meal program pickup. So there were 78 families that participated in that, and that was just from a survey that went to all district families, and they would respond back if they felt that they could benefit from a holiday meal. The Impact Foundation kind of piggybacked on that. They put together these great little baggies as well with soap and toothbrushes and toothpaste and some hats that were hand knit by an organization over at the Lutheran Church. And then also the Food for Thought that works out of this
church for Valley View and Indian Rock, they also supplemented their families with 2 big. That was a great endeavor. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's it for my report. Oh, go ahead.
Just a question for you. I've had the opportunity to go to all the holiday musical programs in this district, and particularly exciting where to watch our 5th graders just getting started, and you work your way up to the senior high school where we have people like Elise playing who have become accomplished musicians. But at the high school program yesterday, they announced a lot of people who have been chosen for the PMEA regionals and districts, bands, chorus, orchestras, and the junior symphonies and all this. I was wondering if you could get those names together for us and share them with us, because these are kind of what Mr. Shirey has alluded to.
I was told they were read last time, but I have them here if you want.
Do you have?
All of them. I just band.
I have honors band on here.
Honors band. Okay, all right. I just think people understand these children are really putting forth an extra Herculean effort to go to all those other rehearsals and be members of these choruses, and they have tryouts. One of them had 1,000 students or something at Dallastown trying out for the district or regional band or something like it. It was a huge number of people that Mr. Hustler was talking about yesterday. So I think kudos need to go out, I think, to our music department and to our to the students, and then right after we get back, after the first of the year on the 3rd of January, I think, is the student art portfolio at the high school. If you have any interest in that, take the time. It's open from 7:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night. I think if you can find a half hour, an hour to go in and see some of the really neat artwork, and you'll find a lot of familiar names because they're either musicians or they're athletes or they're running around on Minithon or something like that, as Dr. Redding is finding out in this district.
Yep.
So anyway,
good stuff.
I just wanted to make note of all this, if that's okay with Dr. Redding to.
Well, and we haven't heard Elise's report yet, so maybe we should hold off.
I don't want to take her.
I read the district band's names last for 2 weeks ago, and I have the honors band. I can do both, doesn't matter.
Yeah. When we get down to your report, the pressure's on. We'll give you a couple minutes to make sure you have all your names together.
Yeah.
Read them into the record.
But I just think that they're really worth mentioning. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Business office report. Ms. Mason?
Thank you. First 2 items, A and B, I'm grouping together, as the administration is recommending board approval of the contract for the theater and the coach to take the English seminar students to the production of Hamlet on February 21st.
So moved.
Second.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. I'd like to do the same with items C and D, as this has to do with closing of activity accounts and placing the remaining balances into new accounts, student activity accounts.
So moved.
Second.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. Next item, the administration recommends board approval of the contract for the high school 11th and 12th grade honors English students to attend a Broadway show November 7th, 2018 in the amount of $5,175.
So moved.
Second.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. The administration recommends board approval of the contract with Scenario Learning for Safe Schools Training, a web-based staff training and compliance management system specifically designed for school employees in the amount of $2,460.
Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Get some details on what that is, or what is that, Ms. Mason?
I'm going to defer to Dr. Ketterman.
Sorry, which one was
The
it?
Safe Schools
The
one.
Safe Schools training.
FTON.
Oh, the training.
Yes.
Okay, that is it's a web-based program that several other schools in the county use it. some of the mandatory trainings that we have, for example, Act 126, they have coaches training on it, and then they have a whole host of other trainings on it besides the ones that are mandated by the state, that everything from proper ways to use a ladder that custodians and some of the trainings that they need to get. They've just added a whole new component with special education training, so that a lot of our paraprofessionals and teachers can get. There's everything from behavior trainings to accommodations and that kind of thing that we can use really for all employees. You can develop a personalized plan for new teachers that might come on board, for substitute teachers or for a coach, for custodians, for paraprofessionals, so that they get the mandated trainings that they need, but also then we can enhance it with other trainings that they have in their repertoire.
For returnees and new members, what is Act 126?
The
Child.
mandated reporter and child abuse training is required now.
That was a test, right?
Yeah.
Just replacing a system, or just you're now going to this web-based?
It's right, we do not currently have any type of system. In fact, the required training, we would direct them to another website that doesn't even have an additional component that's now needed and that kind of thing. This company is very up to date with all of the trainings and the requirements that are needed.
Is that an annual fee, a one-time fee, or what? The 24?
It's an annual.
It's an annual fee,
Yeah.
right?
Track compliance.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Big
Yep,
And
so
it's-
there'll be some
Yeah.
benefits too, just from paperwork and tracking purposes as well.
Unlimited users?
It's actually per,
Employees. Yeah.
the contracted amount is per employee. With
What's
then,
the
but
size of the
except for like
district?
substitutes and, say coaches, but it's not coaches, volunteers. That need to get some training.
So
they
the,
can,
the 2,460 covers all of the employees that would need to do the training.
Yes.
correct. Mm-hmm.
And is that a one-year contract? Are we signing on to a 5-year deal? What is the
That's a one-year contract.
one-year contract?
Mhm.
And is this, were there other services or program-type systems out there that we considered as well as this, or was this something that we were approached with?
No, we weren't, well.
I think I'll take the lead on that conversation. This is a program that we were using at Gettysburg that we started using 4 years ago when we needed to train every person in the district as it related to the requirements of Act 126, and it allowed us to do custodians, part-timers, coaches, and because it's web-based, people could log in at their convenience, and we had a record. It does a pre-test, post-test if you set it up that way, so you have a validation that they're not just clicking through the screens, and the library of courses that are available. Our Buildings and Grounds folks do part of their summer training with employees because of the types of courses that are there. So it's just a broad spectrum, and just recently they added a piece that we were looking at here. I forget which one caught our eye, but they really have proven to be a great resource for mandatory training and the documentation and validation that's there. So.
And if I can interject, another, as I said, several schools in the county use it. Another piece that I learned in talking with the representatives was that the IU, our Lincoln Intermediate Unit, had negotiated a contract or negotiated a deal with them.
Right, so the price is
significantly dropped, 60% dropped the price. So that there are other companies like similar to this out there, but that is very attractive when it.
Mm-hmm.
So is this the IU negotiated price? Is that what we're looking at here?
Correct.
Just for a historical perspective, this is a central site to do compliance work and to do certifications. In the past, how often were we out of compliance or not certified, and was there a financial cost to us not having that? In other words, so we're going to spend $2,460. Is this lowering our fines, or is it lowering something?
Well,
What's it improving?
Well, there hasn't been a finding of delinquency, for lack of better, but there will be, because the 5-year cycle of is coming up very quickly. So there are going to be people looking at our records, and it comes back to another piece that you're going to hear in the budget, and that's the reformulation of our HR office and the responsibilities there. This is really part of our responsibility to make sure employees are trained and have the proper certification. So it's a HR management tool that really is going to become more important as we move into the next cycle with certifications.
Thank you.
Other questions? Ms. Mason? Do a short.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. The administration recommends board approval of the contract with Core Design Group for professional design services for the East York Elementary renovations and modifications, which includes architectural services of $131,000, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and engineering of $88,900, and civil engineering of $10,000 for a total of $229,900.
I move.
Second.
Discussion?
Support.
All right, number one, what's the best current estimate of the total cost that these guys are gonna be managing for us?
The cost on the phase one on the capital plan,
Yeah.
there,
In other words,
it's
the
still,
piece that's covered by this $200 and some odd thousand worth of
is
services.
that whole first phase.
And how much is the estimate right now on that, roughly?
I can't tell you right off the top of my head, Mr. Sears.
And I think following an email that Ellen sent, there was 25,000. Is that also part of this, so that we're really talking about a total all-in cost of around 250? Was it 259?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
2.5 is the
Cost of phase one is.
yeah. That sounds about right. So these fees are about 10% of the construction. All right. It's a little detailed, I guess, because I really haven't had a chance to be on the facilities committee for a while. So what are the implications, for example, of what we're not getting? There was a statement made in there about electrical drawings without panel schedules. I know that's getting a little granular, but are we actually contracting the whole thing, or are there significant pieces that we're not contracting that could cost more later?
My understanding with the meeting we had with Core Designs on Friday is that this will take care of getting us right through the specification, drawings, and bidding process that we will be able to award the project.
Okay. Section 3.3.2 refers to using a 2-pipe or 4-pipe system, but then later on we talk about a 2-pipe system throughout the facility.
That is
So
correct.
It's
why
the
would
final.
Why would they talk about a 4-pipe system anywhere then?
That was part of the preliminary conversation as to which direction to go. The final determination was to go to pipe.
That's
Mr.
just not
Gurley.
clear in the documentation that decision was made. And then just as a curiosity, why was geothermal ruled out?
I was not a part of that discussion. I can't answer that.
Okay.
I wasn't there either.
And then another, does any of this work have the potential to replace any of the or impact any of the guaranteed energy projects that were performed by Johnson Controls?
I can't answer that.
Okay, and what other non-construction costs might we incur? Some of the items talk about, like 3.3.6 says, certain items will be supplied by the client or architect. I guess we're the client,
Yes.
so it's rather, it's ambiguous as to who provides it. If we provide it, why would we pay for it? If we don't, are there additional costs? There's another reference to something called client or owner, which I think is redundant. Aren't the client and the owner the same?
Can you confirm where you are?
3.3.6.
Page 5.
And along that same line, there's a statement to the effect that we assume that the electrical service is adequate. And I'm concerned that we would have to assume that. Why wouldn't we be able to determine that based on the power draw from all this new stuff that goes in?
How would they determine it? If they're being hired to do if they're being hired to do the design, how would we expect them to know up front?
Well, I guess it is a bit of a circular dependency. I understand that. I'm just wondering, has there been any assumption of what the upside risk is on this thing if it's not adequate?
I think that would come out in the bid for the actual work.
I think you're right about that.
Design, yeah. And that would be part of what you would expect them to do during design, is do the due diligence to let us know as we move out to bid what the weaknesses are, I think.
Hoping that their experience is enough that when they say they assume that it's adequate, they know enough about what we have and what the possible demands are to be able to make that statement. Otherwise, don't make it.
They're protecting themselves from the cost that they're going to incur if that is not the case.
Yeah, it's always the risk on it.
Along with a lot of those comments that are in there.
And you can't know it all, understand that.
Yeah. They're saying there will be additional cost if that assumption fails to be true.
Which they say after each one of those.
We're really talking about three different entities. Core on the architectural end, Paragon on the MEP, and civil engineering by site design concepts. Again, just a curiosity, is Core the prime on this thing, and do they manage the other two entities?
Yes.
Yes.
Other? Why don't you do a real vote? Not to imply the other ones.
Opposed now?
Hmm?
Opposed now?
Yes, sorry.
Sears?
Yes.
Sanders?
Yes.
Fryrick?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Scalette?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Toman?
Yes.
Watts?
Yes.
The administration recommends board approval of the memorandum of understanding with Allegheny Intermediate Unit for telephone voice interpretation services with TransPerfect Remote Interpreting for an annual fee of $120.
So moved.
Second.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes. The administration recommends board approval of advertising and soliciting of bids for the middle school chiller.
So moved.
Second.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
When is that bid opening going to be? Do you have a date for that?
We don't yet. If you recall, this is the one that we were hoping we would be able to do just with
Johnson Controls is doing.
Well, but we're not now. We are actually going to bid this
We're gonna
because
bid
what
this
they
one.
came in on state contract was way too high according to Mr.
Okay.
Gerling, so we're gonna bid it. So
Keep-
that's
keep
not
this-
detailed out yet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Informational, you see the donation. and that actually should be from the York County, Community Foundation, John and Maria Pauley Family Fund. It didn't have all of the details at the time the agenda was made, but that will be corrected for the minutes. And any questions on the dining review report for November, or the sales activity report from the food service fund? That concludes my report.
Ms. Atkinson.
I have your names. All right, so. Got them together. All right, so for York County Honors Band, which I believe is picked by the directors around the county, it's Ellen Corver, Julian Gifford Mahaney, Alexis Bowen, Elizabeth Aparicio, Bella Spadotto, Sean Smith, Peter Coate, Hudson Smith, and Elise Atkinson. And for district band, which is, I believe, what the over 1,000 kids auditioned for.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's intense, terrible. Anyway, I was there. But the people who made it from Suburban are Bella Spadotto, Adam Weiler, Julian Gifford Mahaney, Kiara Clifford, and Zoe Pratt, and those two are from orchestra. Obviously, both big accomplishments in the music department. So, Student Council is planning their Snowco event right now, which is our winter dance. It's new. Well, actually, our first time was last year that we hosted it. But it's a mini-con fundraiser, and so it will be held at the Bond in downtown York on January 20th, and the tickets are $25, which is more expensive than our homecoming tickets, but ultimately it's a fundraiser for Minithon. And so Minithon is now about 8 weeks away, which might seem like a long time, but for people who are planning it, it's not. And so obviously that's both exciting and stressful for some people. So we had a holiday assembly this morning, which featured a portion of our holiday concert from Sunday, and then we also had a kickoff assembly for Minithon to get people pumped again. And so the biggest change that we have this year that people are really excited about is the addition of a puppy room, which will be there all night, that people can pet puppies and whatever they want. So hopefully we're going to see numbers of 500 to 600 people attending Minithon, which is really exciting. And the High School Musical, which is Shrek, is holding their auditions today through Wednesday. So hopefully there's a good turnout, and I'm really excited for the show. At the middle school, some students were at Central Market selling handmade pens and cutting boards. They call themselves Cutting Edge Design, so very clever. So they have a website and an Instagram if you want to order. And then 6th grade is also gearing up for their BizTon Day. They just had their interviews, and I saw some pictures. I saw some board members there. And so then they also had their elections for mayor and district attorney. So the kids gave speeches and were voted on, which are some really important skills that they will need later in life. So it's very exciting. Wrestling is doing really well this season so far. I saw some first, second, third places, and I think it was a tournament. I'm not really sure. I'm sorry. And then basketball, as Mr. Shirey said, they won their tournament with the New Oxford tip-off, and then they also unfortunately lost their game in overtime to Susquehannock, but they are looking forward to a good season. And then swimming also unfortunately lost their meet to Central, but obviously that's a huge competitor. They're a huge school, so their coaches were proud of their times, which is what really matters. The high school also held their Poetry Out Loud competition with 50 participants. Zoe Pratt won and will be moving on to the regional competition, and Emily Myers got second. The Spanish Honor Society and German Honor Society each adopted a family that was in need for Christmas, so they sold a lot of Pop-Tarts and held penny wars to raise money for their families. So the 14 Spanish classes at the high school collected over $600 for a family of 6, and the 6 German classes collected over $300 for a family of 4. And so they bought gifts and wrapped them, and so the kids could have a really special Christmas. So we just wrapped up all of our winter concerts, obviously, and they went really well. I saw Mr. Spywork at a lot of them. I was there. They sounded really good, so all good there. At the Model UN Club, which is one of our biggest clubs at the high school. Sorry to have unintentionally neglected it all year. I don't know why, but I'm part of it, and I love it, and I haven't talked about it at all. But they've had 3 conventions so far this year, and at each convention, one YS student has won an award, so it's going really well. The middle school and high school also wrapped up their food drives, Mr. Shirey said. I don't know how much the high school brought in. I don't think they've announced it. Yeah.
Like the number of boxes?
Just cans, boxes, I don't know. That was posted by NHS, but I think it went well. But the middle school did announce that they collected over 1,500 items. So Mrs. Fasick will be coming into school dressed as a snowman on Friday. And on Thursday and Friday, the high school will be celebrating the holiday season with midterms.
Everyone's having a snowman, everyone's having a bunch of
So we have social studies and science on Thursday and math and foreign language on Friday, and then we can relax for a break. And that is the conclusion of my report. Any questions?
Committee reports, Ms. Schrader, Academic Standards and Curriculum Committee.
Yes, this is a motion coming out of committee unless their individual needs to be broken out for some reason. I'll just make it one motion. The new K-5 English Language Arts program, the new and modified course proposals for the high school for the school year 18-19, and the corresponding new textbooks also for the high school year 18-19. So that's a motion coming out of committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Can I ask a question? Are you going to be attaching the proposals that included the costs of these programs? If not, I would like to see those costs put into the motion. Do you know what I'm saying? The proposals included some of the financial aspects. So I guess that would cover it if you included those and attached those or linked them to the minutes or something like that, maybe. Because I think
Ms.
people
Mason, do we have? Yeah.
Okay, but the books, I think we did,
I didn't think they had selected yet. There was a list of 6 or 7 programs.
Yeah, they were going out to
Yeah,
do
we-
an examination for bidding, yeah.
Well, here were the textbooks, I've got
The textbooks are definitely
the high school, yeah.
on the counter right over there.
Right.
ELA
No,
correct?
I believe, I don't think we heard that. I don't think we heard that at the
That was in the
presentation.
PowerPoint, I believe.
It was a pilot.
But it was but it did not have the cost.
The committee met last Thursday, Dr. Academy?
Yes.
Oh.
Well, where possible, if there is been a part of a presentation, if that proposal could be linked so that at least if somebody looks at these minutes, they could.
I know we don't have the final cost for the K-5 ELA yet.
So does that mean we're jumping the gun to approve it?
I think you need another motion to approve the expenditure, if this doesn't include the expenditure.
So what we're approving here is
The program.
It looks like we're approving the process to figure out what they want to do for proposal.
Right, program, and then that would be
The board would have
coming
to.
But that's
to
for
have
the
the-
ELA, yeah, but that's not,
Yeah, the other two were.
the other two I thought had, the high school books, I mean, I got some prices written down here.
Yeah, you were at the meeting, we talked about.
I just think that's, part of-
I-
okay, just make
typically the
another motion on
you know,
that.
Typically, a motion like this would be approve such and such a program at a cost of X.
That, right.
So we're missing the X here, but if it exists, you could make that motion that if X already exists, we attach it.
Okay, or at a future date, present it to the
Yeah.
board for approval.
And we really don't need to approve number one, because this is an exercise of them going out to do a study and come back with a proposal, I think, if I read it
No,
right. But
They're ready to make a recommendation.
they're ready to make the
They are?
recommendation.
Yeah.
But if you're spending money, you still need to approve a
Right.
board action.
Right.
Okay, I'll just leave my motion stand, then I'll make another motion. I'll approve these, and then I'll do a, second one to come back and give us the prices. How about that? Does that work for you, Lois Ann, or?
Yeah. I mean, he anecdotally told us you were at the meeting,
Uh-huh.
the cost of the books, but I don't know that we weren't given like a total or.
No, I don't think so, but then there was another, that came out, blah, blah, blah. I forget what it was called, but it did include some prices. What's new course, I forget already. Yeah, whatever. If you want to vote on that first motion, Mr. President.
So
and then-
just to make sure that I understand what's going on with the K-5 ELA, we're really not approving an expenditure at this point, but a process, is that correct?
No, I think
Where
you're-
are they in this process?
They have made a decision
What is that decision? That's not clear here.
to use the Wilson Wonders, to select the Wonders program.
It's, I mean,
Yeah.
well, it is, if you, the evaluation tool and programs worth it. The timeline, they met with the vendor.
And they're asking for the new K-5 English Language Arts Program proposal. They want approval of that, which was
Right.
this thing that we were handed, right?
Right.
What we're missing is some of the costs, which
The
I'm
cost piece is definitely not
which
part
I'm
of,
willing to make
yeah.
a second motion on all three of these if we just want to approve what the motion, my motion was, okay, we're going to approve what's in here, new and modified course proposals, and then, the new textbooks, proposed textbooks.
Right.
And then I'll make another motion
Well, that was the motion out of committee.
out of committee, and I second it, so
Yeah.
that's okay.
Just constructive criticism. This is not a proposal.
No.
This is a description of the process they went through to get somewhere. It's not a proposal. I did know we were going with Wonders from this, but the other 7 of 8 pages in here talked about how we got to that, well,
Mhm.
what we did to make a decision, not about the program. And what would have been nice is a lot more detail on that program we decided on. That would have been a proposal. And without the cost piece, I'm not sure what we're voting on.
And I'm okay pulling that, maybe pull the whole motion again.
Well, now, there was one that,
Because there is cost associated with,
there was one that Dr. Ellis
Textbook.
needed for the new and modified
Number
course
2.
proposals.
I don't have an issue with those two.
Um,
Those are
But
well
number-
written and
number
we know
one.
what's going
They're
on.
free.
Number 1.
And there's not cost associated with them.
They're free.
But they're also crystal clear on what's going on.
Yeah.
They are written
Yeah.
differently. This is what
Yeah.
the process they use. This
Well, then-
is what he wants.
Then, just to, for everybody's comfort level, I'll withdraw the motion pending further information for numbers 1 and 3, the elementary ELA and the high school textbooks. That's not gonna make the wheels fall off the wagon. And then we can, so I'll withdraw that,
Okay.
Ellen.
Okay, I'll withdraw mine.
Then I will, out of committee, request approval for the new and modified course proposals, which is number 2, A2 on your agenda for the high school for the school year, 2018-19.
Second that.
Okay. Now,
Discussion on that.
are we happy?
Ms. Mason?
makes sense, it
Sure.
makes sense.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
And as they present the proposal for number 1, it would be useful to find out, to make it clear that this is a pilot and what the expectations are for measuring success or not.
It's not going to be a
It's not a
pilot.
pilot, it's gonna be the real thing.
It's a
Then-
full
then
implementation.
I would like to see what the measures are for success or not.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This, are we still discussing, or are we gonna, since we voted on the motion?
We
we're
voted
really
on that,
not-
this is just, we're just
Having a little chat up there.
breaking the rules here.
Well, if I could just, to piggyback on that, then at our meeting, the end of January, we'll ask, is that the way to proceed then? We'll ask, Dr. Stoltz and Dr. Ellis for cost. How would you-
I'm giving you that look because we really
I'm seeking
can't,
information.
yeah, we can't wait till the end of January
Okay.
to, which is part of why this
For
motion
another
was here.
committee meeting.
Right, we
Okay.
can't wait for another committee, but we certainly can can bring the information to the
Planning.
meeting.
Okay.
Right.
That-
The January 8th planning meeting will have the detail, because we need to make a commitment in order to get the professional development pieces organized,
Right.
and the implementation schedule put together. So,
So,
Will those
The-
be voting meetings, Mr. President? Did we
Um,
advertise planning
we-
from now on as
I think
we've
our
advertised
advice
and say
was,
we could actually vote on that then.
right, that you could take,
I
yeah, you
think
could
they've
take,
advertised
Planning.
planning
Yeah.
and regular meeting as will be
yeah.
potential voting meetings.
so every meet, okay. Well, if
Makes
time
sense.
is of the
Necessary,
essence, then we could do that. And
Mhm.
that's fine. I see no reason for them to need to come back to committee. I just sort of wanted to know what my responsibilities and expectations are as far as that goes. But, and I guess just for down the road, if we have issues, like if this had come up and those concerns had been expressed, perhaps we could have rallied and gotten those cost figures
Agreed.
for tonight.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? So
Sure.
in preparation, when we see the light bulb comes on in somebody's head, well, hey, how much are those textbooks gonna cost? We have to vote on that. Then that alert should be sent out and we could have that for the meeting and we wouldn't have to withdraw motions. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good, fair point.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Communications Committee report, I'm not sure we have a head, but the reports are attached. Were you the,
No, that was Rich, wasn't it?
were you the head?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, what he said. But I'd like to add that, Mr. Scalette and Mr. Watts and I will be conferring about future meeting times, because there has to be a review of our schedule. Is that right, Mr. Scalette? Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
And look for new and improved communications in the future. That's right too, right? Yeah. Thank you.
It's gonna be dangerous.
Finance Committee report, I'll make sure I get this in the right order. We have, as part of the budgeting process, we have an opportunity to either seek the index, the extension of the index, or opt out and go with index or below. Did I say that correctly? So the discussion is, do we want to seek the extended piece, or do we want to opt out and just accept index or below? And before we say anything, I would open it up to discussion. I'm not sure this has to be a motion or anything. Anybody got any thoughts on which way to go?
I never have any problem with going for the exceptions. They're out there then if we wanna use them. If we don't use them,
And my argument would be that if you say you're gonna go for the exception, or you're gonna take the option to go for the exception, it sends a message to the community that I don't think is necessarily where we're gonna end up. So I would pitch for opting out. So I hear
I would also agree with that.
Yeah, I think the gap is what it is, but, you know, it's workable, and I don't really think that there's need to exceed index.
and that eases your timeline somewhat as well, correct?
It does.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way, it
Less
eases the
work.
timeline in that we don't have to scurry to get a preliminary budget together by the end of next month to approve a preliminary in February. This gives us more time, if you will, to do the line item.
Actually, the actual cutting.
Yeah.
Okay. If I hear no objections, we will head in that direction.
Then
Thank
I
you.
will have that at the January meeting.
Okay, thank you. Personnel Committee report? I'm not sure. Maybe we,
You want me to?
I can read it if,
okay, thank you.
I should get used to
Thank
it,
you.
right?
That's right.
There you go.
Okay. Before you have a consent agenda, you have before you the personnel report, which includes leave of absence, employment, substitute teacher, guest teachers, and volunteers. Would any board member like any of these items considered separately, or are there any questions on any of these items? If not, the chair moves approval of the below-mentioned items. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. So I get to ask my questions?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Starting at the top with Connie Fickus, that means she will be out until sometime January 8th or thereabouts of 2019. Is that correct? She's taking a full year? It's about, okay. with regards to, 1B, Ms. Jingles, is there a time limit on this, or is this until the end of the school year, or how does that work?
There's
I'm
no,
There's not a time limit on it? I know that's, it's
Goes till the end of the school year then?
intermittent.
It's intermittent.
right, isn't it?
Well, it's a 12-week
days?
limit on the FMLA,
Right.
Yeah, I get that, but this is intermittent, this is an intermittent kind of thing, I think
but
they
it's
can
the intermittent use
That
of
means
12
as
weeks,
needed.
Right.
of 60 days.
Yeah,
Of 60
so
days,
it's
okay.
how
okay.
long it takes her to use
So it
it.
is whatever it is,
Right.
Okay,
up to
Okay.
that limit.
thank you.
And I see we have a provision for public comment.
Not yet. So, Ms. Mason, I guess this will be a short.
This will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Not, motion passes.
And in closing, the members of the Personnel Committee will be conferring about our schedule to get that information to the administration as quickly as possible.
You're just
Right, men? Right.
You're just
Okay.
conferring all over the place.
Okay, and since I'm new, I'm going to break a rule and take us back to the discussion of textbooks just for a minute. I'm told that we do have pricing information, and there is some urgency with, this is proposal,
So we're gonna open up the link, and Mr. Shirey, you can, okay, open the hyperlink, each one of them,
To another document.
which is where Ellen had seen this in
That's it.
committee.
That's the one I got.
Right, so,
Okay.
so it was there, it just wasn't conveyed from us. But the committee did see these numbers in making their recommendation. So the request is to have a motion to accept,
Can you scroll down
the
to
committee's-
that's the one book, right?
this is number 3, right?
Pick up three.
For each one,
Oh,
okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry, light bulb didn't come on, sorry.
So we're looking for a motion to accept number 3.
All right, so, again,
So
I
moved.
guess,
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Mason, I think this can be a short.
Will be considered a unanimous roll call vote unless I hear votes to the contrary. Hearing none, motion passes.
and next time, I'll help us put something on the agenda about the cost being embedded in links.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause-
and
Yeah, that was,
my apologies to the
Are there any additional committee reports that I missed? Lincoln Intermediate Unit Board report? You don't have one of those, right? York Adams Academy?
Yes, I'm pleased to announce that we have 51 students eligible for graduation from York Adams Academy tomorrow evening. 4 of them are York Suburban students. You are all cordially invited at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening out at the York Learning Center. It's always a fun evening, and I hope some of you get there one of these times. Thank you.
York Adams Tax Bureau?
A report.
York County School of Technology? Ms. Schrader?
just, I would ask that, information about since Steve is going to be the new alternate, be sent so that his information can be available.
Mrs. Irvine will be taking care of that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they send out forms for us to complete once everybody's
Okay,
named.
just to make sure that happened. All right, thank you, that concludes my report.
I would like to welcome our visitors. It's good to see you again. You see the board meeting committee schedule attached, and again, this is the opportunity for public comment to be addressed. Would anybody like to come forward with comments? Okay, thank you very much. We'll take a short break, like 5 minutes, and then come back for a brief executive session, I hope. And with that, we're done. Thank you.